it's the story. Like I truly feel like that every single thing that I've ever been through, every misstep I've ever taken, every wrong turn, every single minute of it has built me to be the woman I am right now, today, sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take a single thing back.
That was Jen Elizabeth, author of the book Shape of a Woman, and my guest this week on the Recover Yourself podcast, where we're talking with people with long-term recovery about what they're recovering to, well beyond what they're recovering from. Hi, I'm your host, MartinJon, and Jen has been recovering her voice, her true identity, and her love for herself and that identity for quite some time. A survivor of childhood sexual trauma, which led to substance abuse, is her backstory. But if you'd like to learn more about her, you're going to want to read Shape of a Woman. But today, Jen shares with us the story of sitting within her pain, getting to know it, and how to deal with and trust the process. So Jen, thank you for joining me. I'm super excited to have you here.
Yes, I am super excited to be here.
I just finished Shape of a Woman and I thought it was wonderful, and so I'm really excited to talk about where you've come from all that. And how many years do you have?
I have 8 years.
8 years. And when did the 8th year come into being for you?
May 1st.
Okay, so just recently.
Yeah. Miracles. Really, miracles upon miracles upon miracles. Yeah.
It's amazing to me how miraculous life is.
Yeah, it's, you don't notice it when you're stuck in your mess, but when you kind of come out and like see the world, I mean, there is just miracles all around us. There are people that do not believe in miracles, and I just cannot fathom that. I mean, I see them, I talk to them, I am one. I mean, daily, and I know you do too. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I were to put it all on me and give myself the credit, left to my own devices, I should be dead. So this is not me. Yeah, I work hard, and yeah, I definitely am self-aware, and I definitely do a lot of healing work, but this is not all me. There is definitely somebody out there, something greater than me, that has really been looking out for me, and really has just, I mean, the blessings of my life are just, I can't even count them.
Absolutely. That's so beautiful. Like, it's such a great way to start our conversation as well, because recognizing just the miraculous nature of awareness, it's fun to be aware, like, right? Like, it is so much for me. Being aware of some miraculous shit that's going on around me is just fun to experience.
Yeah.
And not be caught up in like a response to it.
Yeah. A reaction versus response. I just learned about that actually recently, like the difference. I used to react to everything. I have to either fix it, or I have to, dissect it, or find something wrong with it, find the loophole, because surely shit's going to fall apart, because that's just the way it is for me. Right. And now I'm learning to just let things be, and to trust. For me, it's God, for, the universe, whatever anyone believes in, something greater. I just trust so much, because like I said, like, left up to my own devices, like, I should be in prison or dead or suffering or walking through this world an empty shell of a woman. And like, I'm so free today. I really am so free. I mean, I'm not perfect. I have struggles.
Well, hold on.
But
Yes,
I'm
you
free.
Are. You're perfect.
I know
where you are right now.
I'm not perfect.
Well, no. I see, and that's where like I kind of say, yes, no, you are perfect for where you are,
you.
right?
Yeah.
Like as we all are. Right. Like yeah. Again, I even put this on Instagram once, where it's just like, don't let your definition of perfection steal yours.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
like Like, oh my God, like all the things that you went through and like all the things that everybody goes through and they still end up right here. Like that's exactly where, right? And even if
Yeah.
you're fucking up, like you have the opportunity to do something about that right now.
And it's the story. Like I truly feel like that every single thing that I've ever been through, every misstep I've ever taken, every wrong turn, every single minute of it has built me to be the woman I am right now today, sitting here talking to you.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take a single thing back. It is, it's everything that has built me to be who I am, you
Mhm.
know? And so none of it goes to waste for me. None of it. It's all, it's all so valuable. And I think once people, it takes time. It's taken me a lot of time to see things that way and to really change the way I think about stuff. But I think once people get there, it's like it changes everything. Once you stop seeing things as things that you're guilty about or things that you suffered or the victim, you know, all that stuff, and you start to see that actually all that pain contains the power to change your life and the power to have a story. And maybe my not story is not for everybody, but it is for somebody. It is for somebody that's going to help someone else, that's going to be, you know, able to free themselves. That makes it
Yeah.
all like I'm so overpaid. I'm so overpaid with, you know, the people that message me, or just, you know, how I feel inside. It's like I never thought recovery would be like this. I just
Yeah.
wanted to be sober.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all I wanted.
And and so thinking about that, like, changing the way you see things, like what were some of the things you discovered about yourself and like patterns in your life and other things once you started to open up to these new ways that you're seeing things? What were some things that you discovered that were like all on you?
Oh, tons. Oh, yeah, that's not always fun, right? To
Yeah.
to realize that, you know, I have been my biggest abuser, you know, truly. I have punished myself for years and carried so much weight of things that were never mine to carry. And how can anybody pick up the things that are ours to carry and pick up our lives when we're so weighted down with shit that's not even our business to be carrying, to be burdened with, you know? It took me a long time. I used to, you know, I felt that I was worthless.
Right.
And it doesn't really matter where that came from. What matters is that I carried it on way longer than anybody ever taught me that.
Hmm.
Like they say, and I agree with this, it takes so much longer to unlearn shit than it did to learn it, right? Oh my God. You
And
know,
I
yeah,
want to
I had,
say, and I
go
want to
ahead.
say, like, you said, like, I was taught, but that's the
Hmm.
big difference, right? Like, there is a big difference between what we're taught and what we learn, right? Because we're
Yes,
taught a
yes,
whole bunch of shit we don't remember. But when we
right.
learn something, fuck all. Like, look the fuck out,
Yeah,
because, like, now we're going to internalize that in a way that probably was never intended.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I carried a lot of shame, a lot of self-loathing, and, you know, I just, you know, I really abused myself. I thought I was a piece of trash, and I treated myself accordingly, you know. And it took me, you know, I was in the victim stage for a long time, and the poor me, and, you know, this is what I went through. And sure, a lot of that stuff is important. A lot of that stuff I've had to work through, and I still work through, and that's okay. Um, but, you know, I'm 42, and I'm a woman in recovery today, and I'm capable, and I have the tools now to move forward. Like I don't want to survive anymore. You know, I want to thrive. Like I want to truly live. Like survival, like our brains are kind of wired to survive. And the problem is that I've been surviving my whole life. And that's not really what life's about. you
Yeah,
know?
and to various degrees, right? Like
Oh, yeah, right. I mean, yeah, survive. I'm grateful I survived. I'm grateful I did, but I can get very comfortable in the minimal. I can get very comfortable in survival, you
Mhm.
know, and I have to be careful because I'll get really like, I can get stuck in shit and kind of be okay with it. Like, I can paint really ugly pictures pretty if I'm not careful,
Mhm.
and I just don't want to be like that anymore. It's unnecessary. It's
Right.
really unnecessary. There's just so much. This is such a great time to get into recovery from anything.
Like that's the thing. Like there are people walking around with like crazy, insidious addictions that they'll
Yeah.
never know about. You know,
Yeah. I mean,
we are lucky that ours were so obvious.
I mean, yeah, I was a hot mess, but yeah, I mean, I'm so grateful that I think everybody needs recovery.
Yeah, I agree.
Even if you're not in an addiction, necessarily a drug or alcohol
Right,
addiction,
right,
because
right.
there's tons of addictions. There's tons of ways to numb out from life. There's tons of ways to avoid yourself. I mean, you could shop, you could work out, anything in excess or anything with the motive of avoiding reality
Hmm.
is an addiction or is going to have the negative effects of addiction. Yeah, there's people walking around who maybe aren't drug addicts, but they're completely avoiding their family, completely avoiding their financial situation, completely avoiding their spouses, their behavior, their anger, and they're just like existing from their pain. And you know what happens? That shit just carries on and carries on through their children, to their children's children, and it just like this snowball. Yeah.
Because what they're really avoiding is looking at themselves
Yep.
and becoming aware of their own dislike for themselves.
Yeah. People treat other people the way they feel about themselves.
People experience other people treating them
Yep.
the way they feel about themselves,
Yep. Oh God, it
right?
could just go on and on, right?
That's right. Like it's a cycle, right? Like the
Yeah.
world that we experience is a reflection of how we feel about ourselves,
Absolutely.
which is
And
why
so
when you felt like trash, your life was
it was
trash.
trash. Yep.
And today you feel like your life's a miracle and you're a miracle.
And I see them everywhere.
That's
Yep.
right. That's right. How beautiful.
It
Um,
is beautiful.
what were some other things that when you started your journey that you thought would never change, but now you're looking at it like that was an inevitable shift, but when you
Hmm.
started your recovery, you were like, I'm always going to be this.
Like I said, I just wanted to be sober in the beginning. I thought that my problem was drugs and alcohol. And so if I could just figure out how to remove that, then at first I thought, well, I'd be fixed.
Right.
That, that's the problem. Because, we have to we have to put the problem on something. It's got to be the drugs and alcohol because they're causing me the legal problems and the health, all the other stuff that came along with my addiction. And I just wanted to understand how people existed in their own skin without using. I just could not freaking grasp that. So slowly, as I started putting some days together, um, then the real shit started coming. All the pain
Yeah.
and all the stuff that I had been willing to die to avoid just started. I mean, coming.
Yeah.
And then I thought, this is bullshit. Being sober sucks
Right.
because being sober in pain does suck.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. But that's part of the process, right? I mean, if you never get clean and sober, you're never going to face the shit that you got to face. So I thought I would always be in pain. I thought that I had just been too damaged. I let it go too long. I was 34 when I got into recovery. I let it go way too long. I was too damaged, too scarred, that I would always be consumed with pain.
Hmm.
I thought I would never be able to breathe freely because I had such a hard time just breathing. I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And I would lay in bed at night and just cry and just ask God to take me in recovery.
Oh yeah, no, that's that. I think my strongest suicidal days were in recovery.
I think it's important to share that, because not to be, talk about the war stories
No,
necessarily, but it's important because there's a lot of people that, give the impression, and I don't say whether someone's lying or not, but there's a lot of people, especially if you're on social media, that give the impression that, 5 days, 5 weeks, 5 months, clean and sober, that they're just like loving life. And that's wonderful. But what happens is, for the people who are really struggling, then they look at that and they start comparing their recovery story, which we compare everything. It's so silly, but and then they start thinking there's something wrong with their recovery. There's nothing wrong with your recovery if you're in pain. In fact, there's probably something very right.
Absolutely. If you're not miserable, then you're not dealing with your fucking shit. Like I'm sorry, you just got sober, bitch. Like, wake the fuck up. You better be miserable.
I say this, but if you Google image Golem from Lord of the Rings, that was fucking me. And like the first few years of recovery, I was a wounded mess. I had no tools. The only tools I ever knew how to survive life were drugs and alcohol. I started drinking, and I was an alcoholic from 12. Okay. So as a teenage to adult, my child, all these terrible coping skills I used, that's all I ever had. So once you remove that, I just had no skills to live.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time. So I really thought I'd always be in pain. I thought I would always be consumed with shame.
Yeah.
I thought there's nobody in this world that can fix me or heal me. Little did I know that it was me.
Yeah, you're right. There isn't anyone other than you.
Right. But I didn't know that, because I was just searching to be fixed.
Right.
That's kind of how we are in early recovery. We just want someone to fix us.
Right.
Because my alcohol and drugs were my fix. That was the quick fix. So that's like how a lot of people in recovery continue to exist. Fix, shop, eat, sex, love.
Coffee and cigarettes.
Coffee, cigarettes, my vape.
Yeah.
Coffee, whatever, friendships, internet, likes, loves, reposts, whatever it is. We want these quick fixes. And I get it. I'm human. I do the same thing sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, come on. Bring it on. I love to get a little dopamine.
I love it, right?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
And everything, anything to excess can be detrimental to you, even working out, even eating healthy, So I thought I'd always be consumed with shame. And I also thought I was never going to be a productive member of society. I thought I was completely institutionalized, and I would just never be like other people. That I just was broken, permanently broken. And that was the first few years. It just took me a long time to get my land legs back, just to learn how to go to grocery stores and not steal. I was an animal out there. So it took me a long time just to be a human being. Yeah. And learn how to talk to people and not look over my shoulders, and not be nervous about, having someone sitting behind me, or that someone was going to come up and arrest me, or, all the things that we fear when we're getting off the streets,
Yeah. No, I get that.
I saw people that were happy in recovery. And until I became trustworthy, I did not trust anybody else. I was so untrustworthy that I, projected all that on everybody else. So I didn't trust anybody in recovery. I thought they were all lying. There's no way that you are happy and have families. You must be using on the side. You must be sneaking something, because there's no way.
Right.
I didn't believe in anything. I thought that I was too bad, that, God had forsaken me. All the victimish, suffering. It took me a few years, and then it just, I think, becoming a mother was huge from when I got pregnant with my son.
Yeah.
Because I don't come from a whole, happy home, and I did not want to do that to my children.
Mm-hmm.
My children are not why I'm in recovery. My children, what they have done is really pushed me to really work on myself harder in recovery, but they are not why I'm in recovery. I'm in recovery for me.
Yeah. That is the
And
only way
yeah,
you're going to be there. It has to be for you.
yeah,
It has to be for you. If there is anything external from you that your recovery is based on, that thing will eventually go away.
absolutely. Yeah.
Like, so congratulations to you on that, because that's a big thing, right? Because when you went into recovery, you didn't believe you were even, like, you just wanted to be sober. You
Mm-hmm.
didn't necessarily believe you had enough worth to be in sobriety,
Mm-mm.
right?
Absolutely.
And that's changed.
Yeah. Oh, that's totally changed. That's totally changed. I know now, that um, I am worthy of life. I've always been worthy of life, no matter what I've done, no matter where I've been. That there's a purpose for me, and I just couldn't see it for so long.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know I'm totally worthy of this, and it just gets better and better. I just get more and more free. Like, I don't even want to be the woman I am right now next year.
No,
I want to keep going. you know, I,
absolutely.
I just, and it's so exciting, right? Because who knows what, I have no more handicaps. My addiction was such a handicap. And then my inner child wounds and all the stuff that I was suffering from, they just, shame blocks you from seeing the possibility for your life. It really does. And I was so consumed with shame. And now it's like I see so much possibility that who knows what's ahead for me. All I know is that I just stay open to it all, and I just trust that I just keep sharing, and I keep working. If I feel something come up, I address it right on. I used to avoid pain because I hated pain. I hated to feel it, I hated to face it, and I definitely hated to talk about it. Oh my
Right.
God. And what I found through experience is that pain is where the power to change my life is. So when I feel something come up, I'm on it, because I know now the freedom that comes after I walk through it is like nothing else.
Yeah, that's the miracle, right? Like, that's just
Oh,
inviting miracle.
it is. I wish I could just, I try to tell people, and I see people avoiding pain and avoiding pain and avoiding that one thing or those two, the thing they just don't, but they can't get past it. You're avoiding it, but you can't get past it. So now what?
Yeah.
You're just stuck in limbo.
Mhm. That's
So
right.
you're sober. That's nice. Congratulations on your glass of water. I mean, sober is not the end game.
No.
Sober is the beginning game. It's the crucial step, but it's not the only thing.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be like healed and growing and transforming and like really living. Everybody's capable. Everybody.
The conversation of recovering from is where you start. And
Yeah.
the thing is that we're missing this conversation of what are we recovering to? What is our target?
Yeah,
Um,
totally.
Taking where you're at now as a baseline,
Hmm.
when did you begin to, what you would consider now, think clearly?
I would say 4 years into recovery. I think that maybe 3, 4 years in recovery is when I really started working on healing my life rather than just getting rid of the alcohol, drug behavior.
Right.
It took me a long time. You
Well,
know,
that's not, I mean, relatively, like, that's not,
for
I
me,
mean,
it feels like a long time, but yeah, maybe not to some. But yeah,
yeah,
I spent 3 or 4 years just focusing on how to get through life without using,
right,
you know, and then it became about, okay, now how do I live life without feeling so much pain? And, how do I end my silence about stuff?
right,
How do I learn to speak when all I've done is shut up and
right,
swallow my self-worth and believe that I was, unworthy and unloved and unlovable.
yeah,
And yeah, I would say like about 3-4 years into it, and it just gets better. So, I didn't like after 3 or 4 years just start speaking my truth. I talk about people speaking their truth, but I think it's so much more important to learn to sit with your truth first.
right,
You know, it took me a while to learn to just sit with myself and really look in the mirror and see what I have done to myself and how I've been telling myself all these terrible stories about who I am and who I'm not and
right,
who I'll never be and who I'm not capable of being and all the stuff that I used to tell myself.
uh-huh.
Um, I slowly started changing that narrative between me and myself, and I think recovery is a lot about connection. And I also think recovery is a lot about learning to be with yourself, you
Yeah,
know.
oh,
Um, I don't believe in isolation. However, solitude is completely different.
yeah,
So I had to get a connection. I was completely disconnected from myself. My insides didn't match my outsides. My language didn't match my feelings. My heart didn't match my head. Nothing matched. I was
right,
all over the fucking place. And slowly things started to connect. Just slowly, the fear and the shame, and it just I'm one of those people. I don't really see what I've been through or like what I've overcome until like I'm looking behind me and I'm like, holy shit,
fuck
look
yeah,
at how far I've fucking been. Look at I used to wake up like this and now I wake up like that. Or I used to, just cry in the shower. I would just cry in the closets. I wouldn't be able to contain the emotions that I'd been shoving down so long. And I'll tell you now, like I go days and days and days and days of joy,
yeah,
of positivity. Or I wake up in the morning. This is something funny about me, kind of, but I'm wired weird. I wake up in the morning in fear. This is just how I'm wired.
mm-hmm.
I do not know why, but I wake up in instant feeling is fear. Who the fuck am I to write a book? Who am I to be talking to people? Instantly.
Right,
But what I do now is I wake up an hour before my kids and I have what I call intentional mornings. I have the tools today to change that shit around. So I
yeah,
wake up in the morning, I pray, I meditate, I drink my coffee, I do my little readings that I read, and I remember who the fuck I am.
fuck
So
yeah,
by the time my kids get up, by the time the sun comes up, I'm back in my zone. This happens to me every morning.
mm-hmm.
Tomorrow morning I will wake up and say, who the fuck am I to be speaking to that man on that podcast? Really?
Yeah,
This is how I'm wired. But you know
right,
what? I know that today. And I don't just sit in it, because I used to just sit in it and then wait as the day would go on. Well, there's half my fucking day spent in shit. I don't have time for that. I got shit to do.
I got
I got
shit to
people
do,
to talk to. I got kids to play with. I got a
yeah,
life to live.
damn
So
right,
now I go, I set I don't even have to set my alarm anymore, but I wake up when the sun is still down. That's my hour. It's my hour to get my head on straight, and boom, then I'm ready for the day.
okay,
So
well,
hey,
that's awesome. So I wake up at 4:30 every day.
yes,
I write 3 pages every morning.
love it.
Like you were talking about
Right,
earlier, where it's like when you see something, you address it. Now,
right.
I want to ask, what do you see in your life today that needs addressing, or you're going to address at some point, or like where are you still growing?
Oh, Lots of areas. Really?
Well,
Oh,
like that
yeah.
last statement was more of a well,
No, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, lots of areas. One is my body image.
yeah,
I am and I hate putting this on being a woman, but we're such creatures of comparing our bodies, and I really am working on that. I'm really determined to walk this earth and be free from being consumed about what my body looks like as I'm walking.
hmm
This is a real issue.
yeah,
I mean, it really is. And it's gotten so much better. It used to be horrible. I used to avoid any social gatherings. I would avoid anything that involved me being in a bathing suit. I mean, missing out on so much of life, missing out on conversation. I just posted about this today, but I would be so consumed with how I looked, how I was sitting, is my stomach hanging over, is my butt jiggling, that I don't even know what the fuck you just said to me.
right.
I don't even know what are we celebrating here? Who are what connection am I missing because I'm so consumed with all this body shit. That's one thing I'm totally working on.
Well, that's huge, and I'm glad you brought that up because like that's a sickness, right? Like when you're like
Oh, for
so
sure.
consumed, like you're so consumed with what other people are thinking about you. Like this is about you. Like
Yeah.
why is it like we need other people to approve of us before we're ready to love how we are?
It is a fucking ingrained mess. Yeah. It's
Yeah, yeah,
deeply
yeah,
it really is,
yeah.
And how can I raise a daughter? That's the thing. Children pick up on all that shit.
hmm
You don't have to tell them or verbalize that you hate your butt for them not to pick up that you're insecure. And then
hmm
they pick up that you're insecure and then they become insecure. All this stuff. It's just
Yep.
unnecessary. So that's how I feel about a lot of shit. A lot of shit is unnecessary
Right.
because we have the tools. We have the tools today. If you don't have them yet, you can go get them. They're
Right.
fucking everywhere.
hmm
To work on this shit, to be better people, to be better mothers, better fathers, better ourselves. Um,
And when we say better, it's not like with less cellulite. It's
no,
not perfect
right,
with like no double chin.
right,
It's not no crow's feet. It's
right.
not no it is you are you see yourself as the
Yes,
awesome god that you are on this planet.
right,
Like that is better, right?
right.
Like anything less than that just isn't good enough, right? Like just keep going.
Like I like to feel good.
Yeah.
I'm a feel good junkie. I mean, hello. I
Well, come on.
that's we all like to
Like
feel
we
good,
all,
right?
oh yeah, like we like anything that makes me feel better is
I
dangerous.
love to feel good.
Yeah.
And today what feels good to me is different than what I used to think made me
Right.
feel good, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so one thing that I don't feel good about is that body image stuff. So
Right.
I know that to feel good, I need to learn to accept myself
Right.
and to see the beauty that I see in other people. I would never speak to other people the way that I speak to myself, ever.
Right.
That has to change. So the way that I speak to myself about my body needs to change further. It's changed a lot, but I am not done yet by far. That's definitely one. Another is definitely my connection to my inner child stuff. I definitely have a disconnection still a little bit with that little girl of my childhood. I went
Mm-hmm.
through some stuff. So that's another thing. I'm doing a lot of inner child work right now
Good.
as we're speaking. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I want to be more connected because I can see there's still some curtain there that I'm holding up, that's protecting me from something. And I just know that that's going to keep coming back
Right.
until I just get through it. So I just need to see what's more there. There's still something there for me,
Right.
but it's okay because that's just another thing that's just going to blossom into something bigger later, you
Yeah.
know?
That's
So
right.
I'm
Like
okay with that. I just know I got to
man.
dig a little bit.
Yeah. And again, that's the miracle. That's the fun. When I was talking about like having fun in recovery, that is it. Like going, oh, here's this thing. And you know what? I don't have to, it's not like it naturally, once you open up your awareness to it, it naturally just dissipates. It's not like you have to be like, oh, I got to do all of this work. I talk to people all the time. If you get a cut on your arm, all you have to do is give it some awareness, clean it, make sure it's wrapped, and then it'll heal. You don't have to actually hold it together. You don't have to like put cells in there by hand. Your psyche will do the same thing. You just have to keep it the fuck clean. Yeah. Because if you're continuing to dirty it with thought, then you're going to keep getting it infested and infected. And then that's how you're going to feel about it. So that's beautiful. I'm really glad that you brought that up. That's wonderful. Yeah.
I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. Well, there's always more, right? Like, there's always more. Like, I mean, I deal with both that sort of like mental stuff as well as I still deal with like physical addictions with like, oh, you know, like I still struggle with like caffeine. I still have.
You mean I'm supposed to want to quit coffee? Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, yeah, no.
You're a lot further than me, dude. I don't even feel that.
Right. Judge. Well, we'll see. For me, it's definitely about like, if I don't have coffee, I am affected, right? Oh, yeah. I am not thinking for myself anymore.
I actually...
Go on.
I get it about that. I actually accidentally bought decaffeinated coffee once. And it did actually really hit me like, wow, I'm physically dependent on caffeine. I had the most gnarly headache I've ever had, ever. And that did hit me. I was like, wow, I mean, we could be dependent on a lot of stuff. Sheesh. Yeah.
And again, you know, like there are people out there all over the place that are not in recovery from like drugs and alcohol or something more traditional, and they don't realize what that means. Like, right? Like when you saw that headache, you were like, I'm physically addicted to this.
Absolutely.
That was like, whoa, that's something real. And it's like, okay, it's just coffee. I'm just gonna like whatevs, right? Like, but you can't unring a bell. So that was just like a boom.
Yep.
You know, and then definitely. It's like, okay, so that's in the back of your head somewhere. It's in your subconscious, and maybe one day you'll be like, I'm gonna try and like cut down. I'm gonna try and, you know, just for whatever reason. But those are gonna be your choices.
Right.
When they're right for you, right? Just like it was your choice to, well, you know, like when you made your recovery yours, that was your choice. And that was all about you, right? Yeah. And that was your correct choice. And however you did that to get where you are today, that was exactly what needed to happen.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Amen to that. Jen, thank you so much for joining me on this. I really appreciate it. And you shared so much. I'm super excited. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good night. What time is it there?
It's 9:30, a little past my bedtime, but we're going to...
Oh, you better go to sleep, boy.
Yeah. All right. You have a good night. Okay. We'll talk soon.
You too. Thank you.
Yep. I want to thank Jen for her time and remind each of you that her book, Shape of a Woman, is available on Amazon. And as I understand it, that's the first book in a series of books relating to her backstory. Recently, Jen's been featured on a couple of other shows, and there are links to those in the description. This is the Recover Yourself podcast, and I'm your host, MartinJon. Please rate and review this program wherever you're watching, and send feedback so I can continue and improve the work that I'm doing. And if you're someone with long-term recovery, reach out, let me know. But until then, keep recovering yourself.